Joining us now from Las Vegas.
When he could have called like some of those people names. Like
Congressman from Texas and Republican presidential candidate announced last Friday, Representative Ron Paul. Representative, good to have you on the show. Is Joey still?
Yeah, Joey's still a
Joe's
big
still for you.
Ron Paul fan. Hey, let me ask you, Ron. It seems, and you know this better than anybody, but I've always complained that everybody talks like a small government conservative until they get on the presidential campaign, other than you, of course, and then suddenly they become supporters of the status quo. We saw this with Newt Gingrich. Were you surprised that Newt Gingrich called Paul Ryan's budget radical?
No, but I would predict that you probably weren't surprised.
I wasn't surprised. No,
I'm actually a little bit surprised that it's so extremely confusing. You know, I can't believe it's gone on for 3 or 4 days. You know, he's had a little bit of experience at politics, so it is a little bit strange.
What is your take on Paul Ryan's attempts to change the way Medicare is delivered to Americans?
Well, I give him a lot of credit, you know, and I get frustrated because I don't think it's going to last that long to deal with it, because I keep thinking the way we spend money and the way the inflation is coming back, we're going to run up a brick wall a lot sooner. So I don't fully endorse what he wants, but I give him a lot of credit. At least he's going in the right direction. So going in the right direction is always satisfactory. But, you know, it just wasn't enough for me. You know, we're cutting, you know, the proposed increases. There's never going to be any significant cuts. We're always increasing and expanding the role of government, no matter what the talk is. And the people in the country now are sick and tired of it.
Okay, so
it's just so hard to. Pardon me?
I'm sorry, we've got a delay here. So I am one of the things that I always find depressing is somebody puts out a budget proposal like Paul Ryan's. The left and the media call it radical, and then we find out even under that plan, the deficit and the debt grows. It's kind of like that great budget deal that we supposedly had a couple of months ago. Originally, we heard it cut $38 billion, then it was cut $300 million. Now we hear it's going to end up costing us $3 billion. Why does government always grow?
Well, I think it's the nature of the constituency. The people want stuff from government, and we got lazy. This country got lazy and believed that, you know, you could live off borrowed money and off other people. And we did it for a long, long time. And we were deceived into believing, especially since we could print the reserve currency of the world, which gave us an access to credit easier than anybody else. But that's the big problem. That's coming to an end. And we're not going to have that easy access. And that's the reason the internationalists are thinking about a new currency as well as I'm thinking about a new currency, because this doesn't work. So that's why we're up against the wall, and the people that are paying the bills are sick and tired of it. So what energizes the Tea Party people is the fact that the debt is too big and the spending is too high, but what energizes the opposition, and if you notice in the streets now, there's a lot of anger at some of these political rallies. And we also have to recognize that the inflation has already started, and think about it around the world. A lot of those demonstrations against their government has come because the food prices are high. So they were quite satisfied to get stuff from government. Now the prices are rising. So I think we're in big trouble. I think the world's in big trouble with our financial institutions.
Congressman, you disagreed with the Obama administration's decision to go into Pakistan and eventually ended up killing Osama bin Laden. You suggested that this is a violation of Pakistani territory, which it was, obviously, and that we would have been better off to have relied on the Pakistani government to arrest bin Laden and turn him over to us for trial. But given the contentious relationship we have with Pakistan, how would that have been possible?
Well, you know, the question that they asked me is whether it could have been done a different way, and I said yes, it could have been done. You know, when we dealt with Saddam Hussein, you know, we found him in a rat hole and we just didn't shoot him. You know, we captured him and tried him, and he got hung, and people know where he is. Right now, all we've done is raise some questions and fed the people who like conspiracy theories. But no, the relationship with Pakistan, it's an impossible situation. Here is a country that we worked with. George Bush worked with them, and we captured a lot of bad people that brought over, the people responsible for the first bombing on the towers. They became convicted and in prison, and we worked with them. But you say, well, we can't work with them anymore. But we keep bombing them. We kill innocent people there. How can we, at one time, take a country and pretend that we recognize that they're a friend, give them billions of dollars to do our bidding, at the same time we kill people over there, and then the people resent this and they turn against their whole government? I see the whole thing is a mess, and I think that we are going to be in Pakistan. I think that's the next occupation, and I fear it. I think it's ridiculous, and I think our foreign policy is such we don't need to be doing this. So when I talk about doing it differently, I talk about in the context of our foreign policy and not in the fact of whether or not we should have gotten them. Matter of fact, I voted for the first authority. I think what's the real tragedy is that we didn't get them 10 years ago when we could have and should have. And yet we now have spent $1 trillion. We've lost 5,000 people, our soldiers, in fighting 2 wars that had nothing to do with bin Laden. And to me, we have to reassess the foreign policy just like we have to reassess our economic policies here.
The implication of part of the answer that you just gave is that you feel that the Bush administration handled Pakistan better than the Obama administration has. Is that correct?
I think when we went after the bad guys, they cooperated with us. So why shouldn't you assume that they could do this again? But I also understand why the situation is much worse, and that's why you can't see this as an isolated incident. You have to look at this in the context of our foreign policy, why we are having difficulty. Yeah, I do think in some terms, of course, I was a strong critic of the foreign policy of George Bush too, because he missed the target in Afghanistan at Tora Bora, and he went off fighting a war in Pakistan. In Iraq that we should have never fought. So no, but I just said that he was able to at least work with the security and the government of Pakistan, and we got a lot of bad guys over here. And I was just thinking, the way Saddam Hussein was captured was quite a bit different. And I just think there's more questions now than ever. How many stories have we heard already about the killing of bin Laden? Yeah. I mean, people are supposed to know what their government's doing. And if you ask me exactly what happened, I have no idea, because I've heard so many stories. And I don't know if anybody there on your panel knows exactly what happened on day when he actually died and when they got the DNA evidence and when he was dropped. I mean, I just think that people need to know more about their government.
I do not have any information on that.
Willie, you
sorry to report.
You don't know. Nobody knows. So,
but that's a conspiracy theory that you
that's
just
what
sort
I feel
of
like just happened. Did you just put out a conspiracy theory, Congressman Ron Paul?
No.
I think what the inept policy invites people to think about conspiracy theories because we don't get all the evidence, and I think that's where we are now. I think there will be plenty of conspiracy theories because we're presented facts that we're changing almost on a daily basis.
Congressman, it's Willie Geitz. I just want to follow up on something you said a minute ago, that you suspect Pakistan will be the place the United States occupies next. Do you have information on that, or that implies there'll be some sort of invasion?
No.
Or why do you say that?
Just because I looked at what has happened in the past 30 or 40 years of all the unintended consequences and what we have done and how we are spreading and the attitudes that has been pervasive in our government for the past 10 years, that we have this obligation to spread our goodness and protect our financial interests. And right now, Pakistan is a big problem. And the people there, we have created a civil war there, and the fact that we go over there and we violate their security, and the people rebel against the government because they see their government as being a puppet of the American government. So it's total chaos, and I am afraid, I hope I'm absolutely wrong, but I'm afraid we will be in Pakistan trying to occupy that country, and it will probably be very unsuccessful.
All right, Congressman Ron Paul, thank you for being on the show today.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ron.